Hey friends, welcome to Woman-Owned Wallet, the podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Dare, a serial entrepreneur who has already made all of the money mistakes, so you don't have to. Now I'm working on my money mindset, expanding my companies, and having open conversations with women around a subject that shouldn't be so taboo, money. My company, Woman-Owned Wallet, and I are determined to help you foster a more positive relationship with your wallet and help you create a life that makes you say, wow. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Woman-Owned Wallet, the podcast. Amanda here. I can't even tell you how excited I am to have Cat on the podcast today. Fun fact, we've known each other as entrepreneurs, but I don't know that much about her life before being an entrepreneur, and I feel like she's going to tell us some really amazing things. Also, we have the same birthday, which is amazing.
Yeah. I kind of feel like I understand you.
I know!
In your business mindset because we share the same birthday.
Yeah, it's like sharing the same brain.
I know.
I mean, but wait, which year were you born?
90.
90. I'm older than you.
Really?
Yeah, I'm 89.
Oh, wow.
Last year, the 80s, you know. I got that Taylor Swift age.
Oh, is that when she was born?
Yeah, so I didn't know that until 1989 came out. And I was like, why the fuck is she calling it that? Because I thought she was so much younger than me.
Same.
She's the same. She's older than
She's older than me.
Sorry, it like literally blew my mind.
Well, I mean, that's still something that I can look up to just to be like her.
Well, I mean, the best thing you ever told me is that we have the same birthday as Joanna Gaines, which I've never double checked. So I just have taken it on as like a pivotal life moment for me that, well, if Joanna Gaines has, 5 kids and a farm and like network television, like I can definitely have a podcast.
Yeah. And I think Kourtney Kardashian might share a birthday too.
Are you?
It's either the day before or 2 days before.
Mm-hmm.
But she's definitely an Aries girl.
She gets it.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does. And I feel like so few people understand Aries.
Yes.
And when you watch her on TV, I kind of feel like I have this appreciation for how cat-like she is.
I was like, you guys could literally be sisters, like twins. Like,
thank you.
I could definitely see that. I used to think I was more of like Chloe, but I'm not as sassy as any of them, to be honest. Like, I just want to make everybody happy and help everyone and make the world a better place, but also say curse words all day long. So I just, live right in the middle.
Yeah.
Can't worry about it.
You're better.
I'm so much better. So much better. Just kidding. I mean, they're amazing too. So I want to hear a little bit about just your story. Let's give them a little bit of information. So I want to dive into, because we were chatting right before we started recording, that, for me, I've been an entrepreneur since, like, I almost don't remember not being one. I was one since I was like 20 and I'm almost 33. So like, it just feels like my entire adulthood, because I started it in college, has been being an entrepreneur, even when I did have other jobs and like did stuff on the side. And you said like your mindset kind of before being an entrepreneur and afterwards has really shifted a lot of things for you. So tell me about like, Cat, young little Cat, just out there in the world before being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So I grew up with 2-parent household. I have one sister, and I think from such a young age, I would call myself a hustler.
Ooh, yes.
Maybe not an entrepreneur, but definitely a hustler. And my parents would always joke to me, like, if you want Cat to do something, put money in front of it and she will do it. If not, good luck.
I love that. I wish more people paid me for all the shit I did for them my whole life.
Right?
I like that you're hustling already, just like super young, ready to go.
Yeah, 14 or I think 13, I like lied on my first job application to like work at this like hole-in-the-wall Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
And I worked a full-time job while I was in high school. I paid for college while I was going to school, which was a journey in itself. It took me so long.
Yeah.
I racked up so many degrees and so much debt. Luckily, I'm out of it. And then I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I had this really big personal change that happened, I think, right around the age of 24. My mom passed away and I got let go from this like dream job that I got while going to business school in DC. And it kind of just gave me a really sour taste in my mouth working for another company.
Were those both like really sudden things that happened as well?
Yeah. My mom's death was pretty much like a slow decline over the course of my young adult life. She was terminally ill. But really, to give her the credit that she deserved, she taught me pretty much everything I understood about finance until that point. And there was a lot of like dark areas of how do I support myself? I get that I have to make money to pay rent. And I get that like if I want a pair of shoes, I need to have that. Like I need to have that money in the bank to buy that pair of shoes. I didn't really understand everything that kind of went into being financially responsible and financially independent.
Even though you've been paying for your own stuff for a decade.
Totally. And no one taught me. I mean, I racked up credit card debt just because I was in my early 20s and I could take out a credit card. So let me do that. And let me take out 5 and do that. And
been there, girlfriend, been there.
Yeah. I think everyone goes through those lessons in life. And
learn
luckily,
that the hard way.
Learn that the hard way. Learn it young. Get it out of your system. But she was incredibly smart. She was a math teacher. So I think I get my speed in which I can understand numbers through her. But nobody really taught me how to be like financially responsible in life. So, fast forward, she passes away. I don't want to work for another company. I don't want to be a consultant right out of business school. I'm incredibly depressed. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. And I started my first business. Right after she passed away, she left me this letter. And I thought it was like such a beautiful token and such a beautiful memory to have. So I was like, why don't I start a business helping other people that have limited amounts of time left to live, create these letters so their families can have them after they pass away.
Cat, that's so beautiful.
I know. It was really sweet. And it was actually like so sad and so depressing. I would cry every day that I went into these retirement homes or assisted living communities, just pitching my idea, hustling so hard to try to make a sale or 10 sales and then, recording their stories, then typing them up and then decorating the letters. And so I did that on the side. I was still working, waiting tables or bartending in the hospitality industry. And I was, like I said, I was depressed and burnt out on the city. So I spontaneously moved to Louisville.
So this was all in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, this is all in Washington, D.C.
And you grew up there as well?
No, I grew up in Florida. My dad still lives in Florida, but my family's kind of now spread out all across the United States. And he was an entrepreneur too.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he owned a bunch of businesses. I think I looked up to him so much because he moved here from Peru. Not knowing the language, never went to college. And he was able to just hustle his way through life. And I respected that so much from him.
Absolutely.
And he still doesn't speak perfect English. He gets by and reads and writes, English, but he still doesn't fully understand, all of the grammatical differences. But he hustled his way to the top. And I looked up to him for that. And there wasn't really a roadmap for how my dad got there. And I never really asked him, but I knew that I kind of wanted to do the same thing in life.
When you say roadmap, you mean like to become an entrepreneur or just in life, really?
To start a business.
Yeah.
I never asked my dad, how did you start this?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or how...
You were like, I'm going to do this on my own like you did.
Yeah.
And that's the more respectable way.
Yeah.
For you.
Exactly.
Or impactful way. Or he'll be more proud of me because I didn't ask, because I can show him that I can do it too.
Yeah.
And in a way that pays respects to him.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like I understand you. It's like we have the same birthday.
It's like we have the same birthday.
I did think we were the same age though.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I have a year on you.
I'll just be your older sister. It's fine.
Exactly.
That sounded like Kourtney Kardashian right there. That's fine. It's fine.
So I think I had 2 really good role models as far as people to look up to. There was still a lot of gray area and a lot of dark space with how to understand finances. And I think I always knew where I wanted to be in life. I just never had the roadmap to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I moved to Louisville. I thought,
yeah, like what's the whim that got you to move here?
So my husband still has his dad and his stepmom here.
Mm.
And so we just wanted to save money, live here for a couple months. And then I was kind of clawing at the walls and I was like, oh my God, we need to, find somewhere to live. We were living with them. I was like, look, let's buy a house. It would be a good investment, even if we don't live here, long term. So we did that. And
were you guys already married at the time?
we were.
Yeah.
We were married. I think we were newlyweds.
What age did you get married at?
25.
25. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was 24.
Were you?
Yeah. Did you ever feel like pressures of like right out of college to actually marry like whoever you were dating at the time? I mean, I definitely think my husband is my person and I got lucky in that respect. But like we went through some of our toughest years right after we got married and we were in marriage counseling. We have a better understanding of how to communicate now. And it not only helped us understand ourselves better, but each other in the relationship. So everything worked out amazingly. But we were like driving the other day and we're both like, you know what? I think we got married too young. And we're like, yeah, we did. Lucky for us, it worked out, know, that we're still together and everything's good. But like, we don't have any kids yet. And we were talking about like starting a family. And so we're just like talking back through our lives a little bit to figure out like what kind of, what do we want to be as parents and like having those conversations. And we were like, yeah, we definitely don't want to be like part of the like pressure, which I think a lot of that is lifted even in the last not even decade that we've been married. Like a lot of that's starting to lift of like pressure around when to get married and who to marry and all of that stuff. But it was interesting that you were saying you're like living in your in-laws home and like that would have been really a lot of pressure to put on a couple that wasn't married. And so that's why I was like, oh, they were married for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're like, I got to get out of here. Let's go. Let's start our life.
Totally. Yeah. I wanted to start a life. I didn't know how to do it. My husband and I think we hustled together those like first 5 years prior to marriage. I kind of took time off right when I met him. That's when I found out my mom was sick. I was still living in Tampa. I had a dead end job. He had the same, dead end job. And we really clawed our way to move to a bigger city, clawed our way to getting into a really great company and to also becoming an entrepreneur. And we really lifted each other. I would say he played a really big role in my life too,
Absolutely.
where I am now.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think having a supportive partner is so incredibly important. I've talked to some other guests about this, but I didn't have any like fuckery going on. I wasn't like messing with boys and I had to worry about anything. I was with my husband for 7 years before we got married. We were friends for 4 years before that. And so we had already known each other a decade when we got married. And to this, like right now, we've been dating 15 years. So like, I always tell him like, he knew who I was in 9th grade, sitting behind him, nonstop talking to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the reason we actually even started talking was because, well, this is my story. He has a different one. He sold me a candy bar, blah, blah, blah. Of course, that's true. In algebra 2, because we're both good at math, which I totally feel you on that. But also like, I was like, no, I was sitting with my friend and I wouldn't shut up because I don't know how. So she put like Ryan in between us thinking that would shut me up because like I wasn't next to my friend. No, I just started talking to Ryan and like, thank goodness I did because I love this man so much. So it just like totally worked out. But so we have differing stories. And one time he found our transcripts from high school and he was like, see, I told you that I sold you a candy bar first.
Oh my God,
that's
like, so funny.
It was probably the same time. He still wants to be right about that one thing. Like we don't fight except for about how we met. Like it's been like 20 years. Like we're fine. Actually, it's almost been 20 years since we met each other.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. Yeah, time's passing by so fast.
It's so fast. I guess I'm curious. So like, my husband is not an entrepreneur and he's not interested in being an entrepreneur. He is a really amazing engineer and he's like very happy to go to a job and to like have them figure out the rest of the bullshit that we have to figure out every day. He's watched me do it for a long time and it's probably why he doesn't want to be an entrepreneur. But I feel like he's like, okay, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you can go do it. But your husband is more like, we should both be entrepreneurs. Let's do this together.
So he doesn't really have a role like within the company. He had his own job. It was kind of left up to me what I wanted to do with my future. And he kind of gave me the space to do it. And so I was like, okay, I think I want to get back into the food industry. How come there's like no vegetable-centric, plant-based forward concept in Louisville?
Yeah, we haven't even told them what you're what you do as an entrepreneur yet. You know, I'd like to take a really long time for those introductions.
So I was like, let me get back into the food industry. I think I'm going to start a restaurant. I have no money. I have no credit because remember I maxed out those credit cards in college. And somebody help me, just like wide-eyed 20s, early 20s. I think I can conquer the world. So let me do it. Mm-hmm. So that was a huge learning curve that you actually need credit to get credit and you need assets to get assets.
It's like shocking how that works, right? I'm like, nobody told me that either.
No one told me that. Like,
why don't they tell you these things?
Yeah. So for the next 2 years, I had to basically rearrange and restructure my life so that I could get that loan for the business and I could save up money by hustling, by bartending, by putting on these farmers markets, by going to these events, getting my name out there, trying to connect with people in a city that I just moved to. I had no friends. 2 extremely long, strenuous years later, I opened the restaurant. That wasn't before. I actually got turned down by 10 different banks before one gave me a loan.
10. I was at like 4.
Were you?
Yeah.
10. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that.
Yeah. I think it was like one of the last banks I went to. And I just thought about this. It was the first woman I talked to.
Seriously, the same for me.
Yeah, in the bank. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I had a 45-page business plan because, hey, I just came out of business school. So if there's one thing I know how to do right is write that goddamn business plan.
Okay, so I'm actually writing one right now and I have like 3 pages. I know. I like need to call you and be like, oh, nobody ever actually made me write one. And I don't have a business degree. So I'm going to be like, hey, Kat, can you look over this business plan thing?
Yeah, send it to me. I love it. So if it wasn't for a woman believing in me and, funding this project, then I wouldn't be here.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We need more money in the hands of women. We need more women being able to, push that money out towards those amazing restaurants. Like I've been to Naive so many times. We didn't even tell them the name of your restaurant yet. It's Naive. And it's amazing. And I can't even tell you guys, if you're in Louisville, you absolutely need to go. My friends were like trying to plan our next girls' night. And I was like, I know where we're going. Let's go.
Thank you.
I usually take a lot of like business meetings there too. Cause like it is in our, like it's within walking distance of my store and everything. So I'm just like, hey, I'm going to go, like, let's meet at Naive for lunch or whatever. And it's like worked out 10,000 times, like amazingly well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's good energy in there.
There is. Absolutely. Really I mean, I love the energy in there so much that like for the new Black, I used it for a photo shoot. Remember? It was like 3 years ago.
That's right. I totally forgot about that.
When did you guys open? Was it 3-4 years?
We're coming up on our 4-year anniversary next month.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. It's crazy because the first couple of years in business, it was definitely like fighting to survive. I had no idea how to balance my bank account for the business. I had no idea how I needed to save for taxes or just how much I should pay for certain things versus not pay. And it wasn't until one of my first GMs, my general manager, stole from the business. Oh my God. That it really forced me to dig deep on how to run a business. Because until then, everyone told me like, hire the best people. If you don't know something, outsource it. And that's what I did. And I was like, okay, in my mind, I'm just going to oversee the company. I'll learn along the way. I'll figure it out. But I wasn't really digging deep enough and really peeling back those layers of understanding how a restaurant should work. So I remember we went into our first winters, and winters are terrible for the restaurant industry. They're horrible.
Absolutely, yeah. And
we had no money in our bank account. We were probably a week away from closing because I couldn't make payroll, which was like $10,000 or something. I called up a family member and I was hysterically crying. At the time, that general manager was working for me still. And I was like, I think I'm just going to close a business. Like I gave it all that I could. And they were like, no, you're not closing. You're just learning this. Essentially fire that manager, get your ass into the business, learn everything you can, and you'll see how you can turn it around.
Yeah, you'll find the cracks and you'll be able to fill them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you'll save a lot of money not having the general manager and doing that work for yourself too.
Yeah.
That payroll went down, I bet.
That payroll went down and my bottom line went down and my top line, went up.
I feel like when people talk about like outsourcing the things you don't know, they don't take enough time to understand and I've done this 10,000 times, but it's something I'm making sure I don't make the same mistake again, basically. I've had a lot of issues with like CPAs and with just like bookkeepers and tax accountants and stuff like that. And it started in the very beginning as like, this guy was like laughing basically at me, it was like $175 or something for him to do my taxes. This was like a decade ago. And I was like, no, it's like, this is a real business. Like, absolutely, I need your help. And he was just like, no, like it's not really a real business, and kind of like shoved it off. I mean, he still did them because I didn't know who else to go to at the time. But I was like, okay, like that made me feel like shit. So like, I don't want to work with him again. And I never did because he didn't make me feel good. And like, even just validate that like, okay, it's a business if it did make money, bro. Like, here's the money, here's the tax ID, here's all these things. And like what you're saying, like I did not know everything. But then when I like hired the next CPA, they really went the opposite direction and like totally like blew smoke up my ass for like such a long time. And I was just like, oh my God, like I finally found somebody who can like talk to me about money and help me move forward without like really understanding it. Like I didn't truly understand it, but I was like, oh, they're handling it. It's great. Mm-hmm. But then when those people literally like ghosted me for months, like I just finished my 2020 taxes like this week. Yeah, I'm talking about 2020 now, but like then they'll just ghost you and like never say anything again. I'm like, no, dude, like we've talked about like you doing the taxes, moving this to that place. And now I finally have somebody who's like, doesn't make me feel bad about anything. There's no judgment on they're just numbers, you know what I mean, to them. And like, once I understood, oh, I'm responsible no matter what these people do. But I better understand enough about my accounting, my financials in order to be able to protect myself versus like, oh, I paid that person to do it. It's their responsibility. Because when they didn't do a correct job or whatever, they don't get in trouble. I've already paid them. They're not giving me my money back. And if they haven't been able to like, fill out the right form for taxes or whatever it is, I'm responsible, not them. Mm-hmm. So I kept like throwing money at outsourcing the problem without understanding what they did enough to be able to like not do it myself necessarily, because I still pay people to do a lot of things. But if I don't have a general understanding of what they're doing, then I get resentful. And I'm like, oh, I'm paying all this money. I don't even know what they're doing. Yeah. So I feel like throwing money at it versus like understand where you need help and having, obviously you want to trust somebody and make sure it's the right decision, but understanding generally at least what the fuck's going on in your business and what's going on within your finances, especially. I just learned that recently as well.
Yeah, the finances, I tell all my managers this now, to run a business and to run a restaurant, I would say it's probably 60% understanding financials, 30% having the tenacity to withstand any kind of storm that rolls through. And I think 10% just having experience.
Mm-hmm. Like what tastes good.
Yeah. Yeah. Or experience in the industry or experience and.
Well, you said you were like a bartending before, waitressing before, like serving, like that was definitely, all those roles.
Totally. Mm-hmm. And you also get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
Well, not always, but I think some of the times, luckily I had a really incredible accounting team. I kind of feel like one of my accountants is like my therapist on a weekly basis because I call her asking her so many questions. They always managed the books correctly, but like you said, they were just managing the books. It's your responsibility to make sure you're digging deep, to make sure that they're categorizing expenses correctly, that they know personal versus business expenses versus setting money aside so you can pay your quarterly taxes ahead of time. They're there for that. But if you don't ask the questions, then you're kind of left in the dark.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely feel like the management side of the money versus like bookkeeping and reconciling, different transactions and stuff like that. Because even when you start to make more money, you have to be like, if you can't manage $1,000, how are you going to manage $100,000?
Exactly.
And so working through like, okay, if I can't manage $1,000, can I manage $100? Like, where is this going? What's it doing? And for me, for so long, it was just avoidance. And I didn't get into business to be the CFO of my business or of my own life, to be honest. I was like, oh, I want to make dresses. Like, I want to be a creative artist, and every business that I've had some element of me making the product. And that was the exciting part. That's the part I did well. That's the part I understood. And that's the part I educated myself on continuously. Whereas I feel like the other stuff with business, I didn't take time enough to really solidify that mindset. Like you're saying, that 30% of just like tenacity, be able to, impact every storm. I'm definitely stubborn and a hustler as well. Like I've had 3 jobs in high school, like through college. I still have student loans, but
Same.
But it's one of those things where I had like 3 different, scholarships that I got. Like I've always had that hustler mentality, but I always allowed myself to kind of live in that naivete of just like, no, and like avoidance really.
Yeah.
So when I started to be like, okay, I cannot avoid this anymore. All my bank accounts are overdrafted and I'm going to lose my business because I have just been avoiding things and paying people to handle problems that they're not handling. Guess what? I trust myself. I trust myself more than I trust anyone else. And I can handle this. I need to just be able to set aside my anxiety around money and let it hadn't been explained to me and stop using that as like basically an excuse. I hate to say it that way. I don't like that. But I was using it as an excuse for myself to be able to avoid it. Well, I don't understand it. I'm bad at money. Those are the things that people told me. And like, they didn't trust me with money or whatever. They thought I'd just spend it on fabric, which trust me, I would have. So it's fine. Like I get it. But I had to educate myself on those factors of the business before. And I even have people who come to me for like business coaching now. They're like, oh, I just want somebody to manage that so I can go do this. And don't get me wrong, you should be able to go do the, parts of your business that are like keep it running. Mm-hmm. But just kind of, it kind of sends me a little red flag when I'm like, oh, you're just going to shove that to the side and not even learn how to do the basics.
Yeah.
That's not okay because, you might run out of money one day. I've definitely been there as well. You might like have that person screw you over like you were talking about. You might have that person leave, they might go on to another opportunity and you're responsible.
If you don't know how to fill in those holes in those tough times while weathering that storm, you're never going to go to the next level of your business. And I also say to my managers when they're pushing back on saving costs or spending costs, I tell them, if you want to save $1,000, you need to save $1 first.
Absolutely. I love that.
How can you lower your expenses by this much percentage if you can't even take like a little nugget out first?
Absolutely. Have you ever read through the Profit First book or anything?
Yeah.
Of the 1%. So if you have $1,000, kind of like what you're saying, but if you have $1,000, if you cannot operate on $990 instead of $1,000, which would be taking out 1%, then your business there's a lot more messed up.
Exactly.
than just those $10. If you think those $10 or that 1% is the difference, it's not. It never is.
No, I kind of think you're not ever going to dig deep for the most part in your business until you're at the edge of a cliff. Your feet are half off. It's either that fight or flight mentality. And for me, I'm willing to fight every single time.
Absolutely.
If somebody said that I had a parachute and I could jump off that cliff and it would save me probably that 90%, I'd be like, okay,
sure,
let's do it. Let me figure out how to open this parachute.
Yeah. I'm sewing the parachute on the way down.
I know. I think because I've gone to war, I've weathered that storm so many times, and I'm sure you can relate. Mm-hmm. I am so confident in what I do now, and I might not have the answers, or I might not still have that roadmap to get to exactly where I want to be in my life and where I see my life in 10 years. But I absolutely know I will get there, and I will fight every day, tooth and nail to get to where I want to be. I
love to hear it, Kat.
Thank you.
I love to hear it. It's deep down in my soul, I'm just everyone needs to be at that level in order to actually make it. They often say businesses don't fail, entrepreneurs quit. Like, because there's so much
I love that.
Right? I was just like, oh no, business is none of my business.
Give me chills. Yeah.
Yay.
I love that.
I mean, it's the true. I mean, I've done things that I would have never done. You know what I mean? I never would have thought I would have done, you know, to keep my businesses running like over the years. And I'm just like, you know, taking money from the wrong places. And there's some things I definitely regret, but I have to look back and remember that those people have all been paid back. You know, those high interest short-term loans that I took out to make payroll multiple times, like you're talking about.
Been there.
Absolutely. Like I've taken so many more extreme measures by owning a business than I think I ever would have not owning a business. And so like on this podcast, we talk a lot about money. And I know that, you know, people are listening for some personal advice or just things, but there's things that Kat and I are both saying that everyone can relate to. But sometimes having like the entrepreneurs on the podcast, they've taken risks with their finances and with their money that you might not have taken yet. And in order to be able to take those risks in the future, if that's something you're interested in, you have to know how like hard clad almost. I feel like that keeps coming to mind, like how hard of a shell you really have to have. How
fearless you have to be to get ahead.
And just how like strong, you have to be really strong in your belief of yourself.
Yeah.
It takes a long time.
Those weeks when, you know, I was taking out that credit card with that 28% interest.
Oh yeah.
I'm spinning my wheels week after week for a year and a half. How can I break even? How can I get ahead in my business when I have so much debt and so much of it is high interest? That is like the first step. Like cut that out, pay off those credit cards, pay off those loans that are 30%, 25%, 20%, because if you think about it, that is your entire margin in your business. If you're lucky, right? Yeah. Like that's what you're taught. You know, if you can clear a business over 20%, you've made it.
Yeah.
And
especially restaurants.
And if your credit card is eating up that 20%, then how are you ever going to get out of that hole that you just dug yourself into?
So, because I've been in the same situation where it was just, they'll come to you for that money. So don't you worry, you're going to pay that back.
There was a lot of credit card monopoly happening to dig myself out of these holes. So I would
You read my mind. I was like, but how did I do it? I don't even remember, but how did you do it, Kat? So like it's like you borrowed from Peter to pay Paul kind of thing.
Exactly.
I had to do that too. And each time I was like, okay, well, this is a lower interest rate.
Yep. That's right.
You have to trade your high interest rate for low interest rate. And low interest rate literally like turns me on now. I'm just like, fuck yes. Like, let's do it.
It turns me on too. I'm like, oh, I can take out this like $100,000 loan for like 2%. Sign me up all day. I'll figure out what to do with it.
Yes, please.
You know,
where do I sign?
Yeah. But it's so crazy to me that like I never learned about this in school. My parents never taught me about low interest versus high interest, good debt versus bad debt. People don't talk enough about how you can have good debt in your life and how you can leverage good debt to move you up if that's where you want to go in life.
Absolutely. I feel like we were only taught about credit cards.
We're only taught about like...
Or savings.
Or once you run up all your credit cards, you know, don't do that. Make sure you pay off your balances every month. But where was that discussion?
They just showed us that like balancing our checkbook or whatever. And I'm just like...
Yeah, like move the zero like twice.
Yeah.
I don't know. Add the comma.
Yeah. And I'm like, you guys, it's all online.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I was in high school in the early 2000s. So like, I really hope it's different now, but I have not heard that much is different. So like, as you know, we're talking about starting our family, like my husband and I are like, okay, these are like, we are starting to like, it's weird because we're not pregnant or anything yet, but it's just one of those things that are like, okay, we want to figure out what are the things we weren't taught that really would help us be a healthier adult and even just healthier with our finances, but just like the stress around money and the intensity that you feel when you're doing it wrong. And when you fuck up money, it can fuck up your whole life.
Yeah.
We all know that money makes this world go around right now. So we have to be able to, kind of be that upstanding society member or community member to like, okay, these people need my product and these people need my service. And you have to be out there really hustling just to be able to afford to eat and to live. And like, obviously that's coming, from a place of privilege that I've been through, but it's like, we're all out here hustling, trying to figure out what to do. And mine's, to maybe get an extra Starbucks, which is annoying. Like now that I say that out loud, I'm annoyed with myself. But the reality is we're all trying to just get by and figure it out as we go along. So if we are struggling this much, like how can we alleviate some of that stress and not pass on that trauma? I mean, trauma is really just things that happen too fast that you couldn't process. It can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, how can we not pass on that additional stress and additional trauma of money, and like even healing myself and my money trauma and my understanding my money story a little bit more and my influences have helped me to become a more like fully aware human.
Mm-hmm.
Like dealing with money helped me deal with my mental health in a lot of ways. So I was like, okay, this kind of answers that. Okay, this is kind of this influence, of my mom spending money, like maybe made me feel like it was bad somehow, but it's not. And like she and I have discussed it. So it's just kind of interesting to fully become a human, like a fully adult, I guess, but like still be making it up like as I go along, but learning from those really hard knock lessons that we've had to learn from. And entrepreneurship, like I've had 6 businesses, going through each one of them. And I keep saying like, I just keep getting better. Like this is lawyers practice, doctors practice, like entrepreneurs practice. Just like they do. And with each business I open, like financially, we do better than the last one. Like it's not that I am doing something like so innately different, but well, I guess I am, but it's like I've learned from those lessons and I haven't brought those, those mistakes or missteps or learning moments, I've learned from them and not brought them into the new one. So I just keep saying to people like, oh, you opened another business? I'm like, yeah, y'all. Like, I just keep getting better. Sorry.
I love that.
You got another job. Like, that's the same. Not really, but kind of.
Yeah.
But, we're all just like exploring.
Yeah. And I think over time, having those experiences in your pocket as tools to use for future decision making is priceless.
Absolutely. Nobody can take away what I've learned.
No.
And what I taught myself.
Yeah. I think those first 2 years owning a restaurant were the hardest 2 years of my life. And
then you went into the pandemic.
And then I went into the pandemic and then my business grew 70%.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited for you, babe.
Yeah. And it's because I leveraged all of the things that I learned the first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept on reinventing myself along the way on how to be more successful, how to be more strategic in the events that I put on or in the decisions that I make or the people I hire or even the training guides, making sure that I'm just crossing all of my T's and dotting all of my I's over the past year.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe putting a face behind the brand, or I'm not really sure. I took on a partner, it's officially like this year, but my chef became my partner and he's really helped grow the business and become another stable force in my life. And, we bounce ideas constantly off of each other on how to, do this better or that better, grow the business, grow different revenue streams. And
And it's cool because now you have like his experiences, from the past as well, especially in like costing and food and everything too. Like he's like, oh, we can get this, ingredient and like we could use it across multiple, dishes or whatever. Like I'm just making assumptions about what your conversations are like.
That is exactly true.
We can buy this one at bulk and we can use it on these 4 dishes. Like you have to think that way.
Yeah, you have to think that way.
People think that when we just make these products or make these dishes that are, out of thin air. And I'm like, no, there's just like not that they think it's out of thin air, but like they don't realize the limitations that our brand puts upon us or that we put upon, the brand as we created it. And like those limitations actually help us do a better job of creating product or like, right. One of my biggest goals in 2022 is to expand profit margins. Like we will inherently make more money because we're expanding those profit margins. And then I'm so excited because this is the first year I've been able to offer health insurance.
That's amazing.
To one employee. I'm so excited. I can't even tell you guys. I was like, yeah, we made all this money. Everything's great. And then I was like, but you guys, I'm offering health insurance.
Even that's a huge thing.
massive.
I pay my employees a day early every time there's a holiday.
Yeah.
And that's so little. And no one even like cares probably. But like to me, I still think of that as like one of my initial like biggest accomplishments, that I could pay all my employees early and that I didn't have to wait until like the last second of the last day to make payroll.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Like I'm doing that early now too. And it's just like those things that get you really excited. Low interest rates and paying those employees and giving them benefits. Like, yeah. And, switching that bad debt or that high interest debt for low interest debt, I feel like.
And making that money like work for you.
Exactly. Or not, and especially not work against you. Like you're saying, like if it's all on your credit cards and your percentages of your credit cards are that high, like you are taking away your own profit from yourself. Like you're doing it to yourself. So like just get out of your own way, switch that money out. Like there's just money flowing everywhere right now, especially. There's so much. And we can definitely level you guys up, even if it is just like a personal loan for your, say you don't own a business, but you have like, I've seen a bunch of stuff that's like payoff and some other companies they'll give you a personal loan at a much lower interest rate so you can pay off your credit cards.
I remember one time in the business, it was like, take out this credit card. It's 0 interest for the entire year. And you just have to make like minimum payments every month. So I would take it out for 11 months and probably 15 days. And then I would transfer that balance to a new credit card
that does the
same thing. And I would do it over and over and over again until I could actually take care of that specific debt.
Yeah. I mean, I literally did the same thing, but it was like all loans. It was like PayPal loan and Shopify Capital loan. And I can't even remember National Funding. Those guys always got me at my most desperate moments. One of my friends told me recently that scared money don't make no money, which
That's
is
true.
a lyric. And I cannot remember the song right now. And I was like, yeah, desperate decisions don't make no money is what I've been like. Desperate decisions make desperate money. And I have chosen to not make decisions from a desperate place any longer. Just like that is not happening, including like any of those kind of like we talked about those high interest, short return loans. Never again. Yeah. Also, just as we're talking, like I got a really big sale and it just like made me super excited.
That's amazing.
So if you like
congratulations.
I was like looking at her. I was like, oh my God.
That's huge.
Yeah. So I guess like sales also turn me on.
Yeah. Same here. I'm like, every time we do like a buyout or have like a record breaking week or record breaking month, it feels I'm riding the highest high.
Absolutely.
I don't really drink. I try not to. I don't do drugs. And so I feel like that is like my euphoria in life.
Absolutely. Like I don't like physically work the storefront like I do, like not often. I definitely can and do. And I definitely merchandise it a lot. But on the weekends, it's hard for me to concentrate on other things, between like 12 and 4 on Sunday because I just leave my ringer on and it's like ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. And I'm like, fuck yes, this is amazing because, we've built something from nothing.
Yeah.
Literally, this came out of my brain.
And we're adding value to the city.
Absolutely.
And we're enhancing the city.
We are, to the community, to the city, to the world.
Yeah.
To all the people listening. Like they're listening in on this, the 2 friends talking about things that really happen in their lives and how fucking crazy it is, but how rewarding it is at the end of the day. And like the fact that simple shifts over time can seriously change your life.
Yeah. Simple shifts. It's like that little shift that like might have saved you like a penny here or a dime here. Then you add it up over time and you're like, oh my God, I'm a millionaire in like, in just everything that I understand now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a great place to like wrap it up, to be honest. I feel like you guys all have a full understanding of how Cat is my soul sister. I guess she's my little sister now that we learned that today too, because I'm older, but only by that year. So it's fine. But she has given us so much information and so much little golden nuggets of just fun. And thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for telling us about your mom and how you got started in entrepreneurship and how just going through all of these stressful situations has made you a stronger, more fully formed, you. And I love you so much.
Love you too. Thank you for having me on.
I guess we should, before we get off, just where can people like find you? How can they come? How can they like book that, night out at the restaurant? Like, tell me everything.
Yeah. So you can find me at Eat Naive is my social media handle. Eatnaive.com is where you can book your reservation and inquire about private events as well. And we're also opening another restaurant this year,
Yay!
which I'm so excited about. So more to come on that.
Yay, I'm so excited. We'll definitely update everybody as soon as you feel comfortable sharing things about your new restaurant. I knew about it, but don't want to say anything, but I will definitely be the first one there.
Yes.
Let me know.
You will have that invite.
I'd be happy to paint the walls, whatever you need.
Thank you.
There's so much that I can do, but I'm a terrible cook. So I can take reservations. I can seat people, whatever you need. I promise I'll be a good employee for you. Opening night.
Perfect.
There I am.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye. If you want to put more money into the wallets of women like we do, then check out our website, thewomanownedwallet.com. And we can't wait to continue the conversation on our social media. So definitely follow us on our Instagram at womanowned.wallet and on TikTok at womanownedwallet. You can support us by following our podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. And don't forget to leave us a review. Thank you for listening to Woman Owned Wallet, the podcast.